Meet Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. They live in Columbus, Ohio. Now meet their 8-year-old daughter named Kate. Kate Johnson is an aspiring artist who wants to go to college to learn more about art. She has big dreams for such a young age. Her parents want to help Kate out by making a large initial investment into what's called a trust fund for her college education, hoping that by the time she turns 18 years old, that she will have enough money for her first year at The Ohio State University, her dream school. If Mr. and Mrs. Johnson can't find a trust fund that will allow their young daughter to pursue her passions, they will have to break the news to her, and they are afraid this will discourage her from following through with her love for art and desire for learning more about it. Are you up for the challenge to find the best plan of action for Mr. and Mrs. Johnson? The future of Kate is at stake. There's no time to waste. An investment now could grow to the money needed in the future. Let's do some math. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson have been saving for several years already and have $12,500 set aside today to invest into a trust fund. They are exploring two different fund options into which they can invest their money. One fund has an interest rate of 6% compounded semi-annually, and the other has an interest rate of 5.95% compounded monthly. We'll talk more about this compounding later. The estimated cost of in-state tuition at Ohio State is approximately $22,000 per year, and that includes room and board, since Mr. and Mrs. Johnson look forward to Kate moving out so they have the house to themselves for once. So they must not only choose the best fund, but also make sure that they can achieve their goal of financially assisting their daughter in the future, regardless of which fund they decide to invest in. To determine which fund will yield the most return on their investment, we will find what's called the effective rate of each fund separately and then compare. Note that interest can either work for or against the Johnsons. In this case, they want the bigger effective interest rate because it will be working in their favor by helping their investment grow more over time. The effective rate is the amount of interest that is actually earned in 1 year as a result of compounding that we mentioned earlier. For example, if you have a 5% annual interest rate compounded annually, no surprise, you'll be earning 5% interest on your money in that year. However, if you have a 5% annual interest rate compounded quarterly, that is 4 times a year, your interest rate for the year will actually be slightly higher than 5% just because of the compounding being 4 times a year versus just once a year. We will use the following formula that you see here to calculate the effective rate in each case, where R is our annual interest rate and N is the number of times we compound in 1 year. Note that we should go ahead and convert our interest rates that are percents to decimals by dividing by 100, and then when we get a result that's a decimal, we'll multiply it by 100 to get it back to a percent again. For the fund with a 6% annual interest rate compounded semi-annually, the effective rate turns out to be 6.09%. For the fund with a 5.95% annual interest rate compounded monthly, the effective rate turns out to be 6.12%. Notice that both of these rates are greater than the annual rate, and even though the 5.95% annual interest rate is less than the 6% one, it's actually better to go with the 5.95% fund because the compounding does make a difference and gives the fund a slightly higher effective rate. Now it's time for the moment of truth. We must check to see if the money that Mr. and Mrs. Johnson have set aside is enough to help out their daughter. Will there be tears or will there be cheers from 8-year-old Kate, who could be the next Picasso? Will the world ever know? Well, actually, they can. All we need is this formula right here, where P is the principal or starting amount, that is, the amount that Mr. and Mrs. Johnson can invest now, where R is the periodic rate, in this case the monthly rate, and where N is the number of interest periods total. To find the monthly rate, we'll just take the annual rate and divide by 12, since the compounding is monthly and there's 12 months per year. And then similarly, to find the number of total interest periods, we'll just take the number of years the trust fund will hold the Johnsons' initial investment for, and that's 10 years since Kate is 8 years old now, and the parents want to have enough money to give her when she's 18. And we'll take that 10 and multiply it by 12 again, since the compounding is monthly. And there's going to be 12 times of compounding per year for each of the 10 years the fund is building upon the initial investment. So putting that all together, as we see here, we see that S, the ending amount, would be Drumroll, please. $22,629.60. Looks like Kate may very well become the next Picasso, and her parents have no tears to wipe away just yet. From money to telling time, math is all around us. Sometimes you've just got to look for it.